What's up, everybody?
Word.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know you were going for it. You actually scared me. I was
Dude,
like, word, and
your reaction was priceless.
this is the intro.
Yeah, this is
We're not cutting it.
no. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games, with a heavy focus on the first-person shooter Escape from Tarkov. I am one of your co-hosts, Jesse. I recently lost my job, found out my wife is pregnant, and went full-time streaming.
I'm Veritas. I'm not used to Jesse doing this sort of thing, and I was gonna say that I just had to pay approximately $50,000 to the tax man, and that was bad news. But I realized yours is worse.
I mean, I
kid.
I don't think so.
I kid. Fucking bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's got a little hell yeah, and everything's got a little oh no. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's.
Yeah, well, I just I had to file an extension on me old taxes, because fuck if it's not extremely difficult getting tax paperwork from all the different places that like you have revenue from as a content creator. Like, and there's so many things that I'm sure a lot of people don't handle. And if you're one of those that commits tax fraud, you can feel free not to. You can plead the fifth. Don't incriminate yourself, but for me, like, I actually declare all of the shit that I make in terms of like PayPal donations, and then there's merch and sponsorship deals and like Amazon affiliate shit. Like, you need to get like 1099s and 1098s for all that bullshit, and a lot of the companies like don't provide that. Like,
you have
some
to,
companies
like,
are just like, no, not even that. Like, there are some organizations that will just like, oh, we sent you money via PayPal or whatever, but like they didn't submit like a 1098 to the government or whatever. So it's like, well, what the fuck do I do?
What am I supposed to do?
So my tax guy hates me. I had to file an extension because he was like, yeah, you don't have any of the documentation that I need. And I'm like, well, neither do I. So, but yeah, I got bent over again this year. That fucking ripped me.
Not fun. That sounds not fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the joys of that for the first time next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So, what you wanted to get into? What we got on the horizon coming up for Tarkov?
Yeah.
I mean, 12.7.
Tarkov had we had the dev blog a few days ago, and I mean, it was kind of exciting. There was a lot to 12.7. So basically, they released the patch notes. They went through the patch notes, talked about some things, added some greater context, and we got like a brand new trailer. And dude, I feel like I'm more excited for 12.7 than the wipe. Like, there's like so much crammed in 12.7, and I guess we'll see how it all shakes out. But like the biggest thing, the thing that we've been waiting for a while now is the customs expansion. Which, did you see the trailer?
I am, you had to ask me. I'm watching it right now because I pulled it up. So here's the deal. I was coming back. I went to the Cape with my wife on Wednesday. She took the day off, and because her parents bought a wicked nice camper, and they were up along the water. So we hung out with them. And then on the way back, I was listening to your video on the patch notes because I hadn't read anything. And then after that, I was like, ooh, I want to see the trailer. And on my phone, like it was impossible. It was so dark. I'm like, why does Tarkov have to be so fucking dark that I couldn't watch it? And then it was just now that I remembered I should probably watch it.
Well,
so I'm watching it.
Well,
it looks fucking radical.
It does. It really does. It's got a lot of the stuff they show. I mean, whoever edits their trailers really likes those quick cuts. You know what I mean? So we don't get a lot of, a whole lot of time to like see context. And I haven't like gone through frame by frame, so you know what I mean, but we don't see a lot of context because I'd almost rather just get in there, you know what I mean, and mess around with it. But it definitely has, like, I was talking to somebody and they were like, it really feels like once they slotted in reserve, they like They like almost just like came to a new level in map design. Like a lot of the things that you see really quickly give off the Reserve vibes, but not in a bad way. It was like they did all the maps. We had very similar, like all the maps for so long outside of Labs, which was just like a completely different vibe and feel, which I loved. But Reserve was another outdoor, indoor, more standard Tarkov map that really felt like as soon as we had Reserve, we were like, oh, this feels different. This feels really good, like from a map design perspective. And it's got a lot of those vibes in it, which I like and I dig. And so I'm so excited. We see the mountain machine guns. We're seeing, they said in the patch notes, expansion of the industrial area, construction site, new explorable buildings, stationary weapons, new location for Reshala to spawn, which I think is good. He'll be just like, that's part of what you love about Gluhar is just the fact that you like really never know where he's going to be. Well, maybe you love it, maybe you hate it.
Do you think they're gonna need to increase the spawn rate? Because before it was,
I hope so, yeah.
Let's say you had a 1 in 3 chance of finding him. You really had a 1 in 3 chance of him. It was a 1 in 3 chance of him spawning on the map in 2 places.
Yeah.
That one you might not get to. So it always felt like it was like a 1 in 10 chance that you were going to be the first one to get there. Maybe like 1 in 8.
I just had this idea. What do you think? I've just like literally never even spoken this. What do you think about a 100% scav boss chance, but not at the beginning of the raid?
We've literally had.
Have we? Okay. Because I just feel like that would, because it feels like it would be cool to have him more often, but you don't want it farmable. You don't want it too farmable. You kind of want it a little farmable because that's end game content. It's fun, but you don't want it too farmable that if you're new to the game, you don't even get a chance to get to him.
One of the episodes that we were talking about, it was one of the first few episodes we talked about the open world.
Yeah,
just saying like there needs to be more reasons to stay in raid. Yeah, we mentioned that that if the scav boss was going to spawn, but it was going to be at these 2 or 3 places sometime during the map. What you would end up doing is I would go old gas, new gas, dorms, construction. Like I would be doing laps throughout the map.
Yep.
And then until eventually like I either came across them or like you can hear when scav boss is fighting and I'd kind of run towards that. But yeah, that would be, I really wish they would do that. The hard part I'm sure is it's probably not trivial in their like spawn algorithm to be able to separate out a whole group of those scavs all coming in at like one time on the map. Maybe they rework it, I don't know, but I would love that.
And how to do it so that you're never in proximity of players, like, you know what I mean? Because it would feel so bad to like check second floor, check third floor, and then go back down to second to go loot a safe room, and then they're all just there. Like, so like, when do you do it? How do you do it without people around and stuff like that? But from a big picture, it would be fun. So I think I'm interested to see if they up the player count and or the boss spawn rate with the expansion. But I'm so excited. Customs has felt very similar for a very long time, even though we've talked about this too, even though it's got that previous expansion where they added that radar tower. That's, you're really only up there if you're hugging the wall because you need something found in raid and you're trying to extract, or if you spawn up there. Outside of that,
or if you're a shooter born in heaven,
or if you're shooter born in heaven,
because there's the big hill, and then there's like the gully with the train. Like if you spawn on one side of the hill, there's like a 50-50 chance that if you just go prone and look across, you're going to see somebody ant crawling, and that's where I've gotten a lot of my shooter born in heaven kills. But which sucks because then it's like it's like spawn camping, but not spawn camping because you just spawned and laid down. So it's not like you were laying there for 30 minutes knowing somebody was going to spawn, but it feels like that when you're the other guy that spawns. Man, I spawned on a woods raid. I was on my phone and literally the dude I spawned, I was like, oh, and I put my phone down and I turned left and died. And I was like, oh, okay. Like it was just so immediate, but it was one of those things where if you spawn here, you always check the wall. I spawned on the wall and didn't get in 1 second. I was 1 second late to moving. And it was just death. So, Customs expansion. The other big thing is the Sanitar scav boss on Shoreline. They added a little bit of lore about how he actually used to work for the Terror Group lab, and now he just likes doing his drugs in Shoreline and stuff like that. It looks like
from the trailer, they showed a few clips. It's hard to tell what was him and what was just maybe a scav with new clothing, but it kind of looked, they made it look like he can spawn at the cottages, on the pier, and at the resort, which that would be cool. Like, I think it might be cool to have him spawn at the resort sometimes, but definitely not all the time, which I think is what we wanted. You know what I mean? There's got to be, there's got to be
a reason for us to like hang around.
Exactly.
And again, I still think Shoreline would be infinitely better if like, just like we said with customs, if you could spawn at any time. I don't know. I feel like there's an easy implementation that they could do where, imagine, like the old gas exfil. You know how like you go down, there's just a door that you can't open, but you just like sit in front of the door and that's where you go.
Yeah.
Imagine if there was like a compartment there that had a one-way door, because there's already one-way doors that scavs can open, like the one in factory, the one in dorms. Like spawn them in there so that they are 100% guaranteed to not be like, they're not going to pop in front of somebody.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then they kick the door down and they spread out from there. You could have one of those types of places. Maybe it's a basement in one of the cottages or something. So that, you might be in second floor dorms and all of a sudden you hear boom, the door get kicked in. You're like, shit, they're here now. Or you might not hear it because you might be on the third floor or something. But that would make it so that
that's a really cool idea. Because you load in all the assets when you're loading the raid, and then you just kind of release them whenever. And I like the fact that there would be maybe like an audio cue if you were close enough. Like, you know what I mean? Just like that door breach, and you're like, oh my God, I have to get a position. Like, you know what I mean? That would be kind of cool. But yeah, so he's cool. I mean, we know he's got the new stims, and I don't know if they've talked about like if he's gonna have buddies, like guards or anything. I don't know. I don't think I saw anything, but
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't recall. I recall hearing that he could like heal himself, but not that he had any.
Oh
like,
yeah,
with him.
That's true. He said he's going to be able to like heal himself. Nikita made jokes about how you're going to have to shoot him like a like a division boss, but the fact that he's gonna, they say he's going to be able to quickly heal himself. Oh, and the gang members. So he's going to be able to heal the gang members. Uses variation of stimulants, medications, and being able to perform surgery on himself, which is super interesting.
That seemed kind of weird to me because it's like most engagements with AI don't last long enough for that to be relevant.
No.
So
the two ends of that is they don't last long enough for that to be relevant. And if you got some shots on him and he killed you, and then could be performing the surgery before another player comes, but you've never rolled up on a scav boss that had killed a player and been like, oh, his arm was blacked out, and that's what the thing that Lemon got him. So I think it's just maybe like cool. You might be able to hear him or catch him in an animation, but I mean, I don't.
It'd be cool if I pictured him like running away to go heal, because that would be if Glucard didn't just run and sprint and slide into you or like Killa, you know, if they actually like they took a couple of hits and then they ran around the back of a house, around a fence and in a corner, and then started healing. Well, now it's like, now I got to find him again. You know, that there's that disengagement, re-engagement, which is going to be cool.
And especially in places like the cottages or the resort, there's a lot of places to like run to. You know what I mean? Like the resort, he could go upstairs and just like run down the hall and get in a random room, and you're like, oh geez, now I have to clear. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. They said there's some new quests on Shoreline. Nikita himself didn't seem very excited about him, so it's probably go kill Sanitar and then maybe one other thing. One of the other cool things is they're finally implementing a system for reporting suspicious players, unacceptable nicknames, and game bugs and bug abusers, which is something they've talked about for a while. On a top level, seems like a really good thing. But I don't know. I almost just wonder if it just means more manual work, because you can't have it be an automated thing where if I report you, you get banned. It's going to have to be that I report you and somebody manually reviews it, right?
To me, it sounds, and man, I really want to like design a system and then like put it in front of them rather than just be like, how does it work?
Yeah.
But what I feel like what you would need and what could be extremely interesting if, let's say, I had 3 years to like do what I wanted to do and hire a bunch of experts, it would be you have like a 3-pronged approach where you have the anti-cheat that can detect memory being manipulated and, you know, information being either grabbed or sent that shouldn't be, stuff like that. But then you also have a the player reporting feature, which all that does is it like increments a flag, like an integer in the database for like this player has 17 reports, this player has 17,000 reports. And then you essentially have a data science team or algorithm or whatever that can go ahead and look. And when somebody is flagged as confirmed as a cheater by the anti-cheat, it can then mark that person. Okay, we as far as we know anything, this person is a cheater. Then what you do is you look at the metrics that they have, their analytics, and see, okay, what's their survival rate? What's their kill rate? How much money do they have? What's their average per raid profit? Like, see if there are other ways that you can identify cheaters, other patterns. And essentially come up with like a neural network that you can train with data saying, because the way that neural networks, I mean, they're complicated, but super simple is you can train a neural network so that you feed it a whole bunch of data and you say, this is A. You feed it a whole bunch of other data and you say, this is B. And then while you're doing that, it's learning so that later when you feed it some data and you say, is this A or B? It'll say, oh, it's A or B with this amount of strength or accuracy. That's how they do things with like facial recognition, and that's how they can do things with all sorts of other statistics. But I mean, then that would be really interesting, because if it was like, oh, this person is a 98% match given their stats, that they're a cheater. Well, now let's like break in their doors and steal their computer. I don't know what the fuck you do.
No, but it's like, they work together. But I will say that actually how you were explaining that remind me of the fact that like Nikita didn't talk about neural networks, but he did make a point to mention, and it's hard sometimes when he's trying to figure out how to say what he wants to say in English, you know what I mean? It's hard. But he made a point to mention, he was like, we're recording everything now. We're like logging every raid, we're logging every flea market transaction, we're logging everything. And what he kind of made it out, what it sounded like was, he was like, if something comes up, if we're not made aware of something till here, but you've been doing it this whole time, well, if we're made aware of it now, we can look back for other people doing it. And then so it kind of sounded something similar, where they're like being more proactive about just collecting data from flea market transactions, from raids, maybe from PMC stash values and stuff, and then are potentially able to look retroactively at stuff if a bug is found, if a cheat is found, if something. So that was just like a cool thing that I mentioned, or that he mentioned, that I was like, that seems like a good thing. More data is better. So
just as long as they, I just don't want it ever to be up to a friggin' person. I don't want somebody to go ahead and look at, there's an 86% chance this person's cheating based on our shittily trained small data set neural net. Ban them without realizing without really fucking understanding what they're doing.
So this has the potential to be a good thing, because it has the potential to be another data set, another point, like you were saying. If they've got 3 flags against them and we're recording this data and we can look at their stash value and it's 7 billion, we can use the group to make a judgment call as opposed to just one thing.
See, I honestly don't think that they should never. What they should do is they should use that as, let's start digging here. And then maybe if they had the ability, and again, I don't know how battle AI works, it would be really fucking cool if like you could then, if they had the ability to observe more closely the goings on someone's system, then they might find a new cheat through that that means, right? So like a lot of times what happens from a software perspective when you build systems like this is you like generate a whole bunch of reports that get like run automatically, and then you can do a whole bunch of interesting data science that just gets generated every now and then. Because I architected our analytics system at the robotics company that I was at, and we had 11 million like records in the database, and every now and then somebody would contact us with a question, and we could actually go in and like I could look through the analytics that was largely used for debugging purposes and see like, oh, you went through these 3 menus and selected this thing, and then all of a sudden there was a problem. We could correlate that with retroactively with issues that they've had. But you literally have to go in and search for that person's record. In this case, you know, if BattleEye could go and say, okay, we have an ID for this person number 123, let's pull up the logs and manually go through and see, oh, wow, this is something that our system hasn't, like, it doesn't have it pre-programmed in, but maybe looking through it, you can see like, oh, this is a one-off. Maybe it's a custom cheat that one person made that doesn't like follow the patterns that all the other big ones do. I don't know, but I think that there's probably a lot of potential there.
Yeah, man, it's complicated, but it's cool. They mention a lot about AI behavior, which is super interesting and cool. So a lot of stuff related to just scavs. They can pick up items. They can. They changed the AI of when scavs see bodies. They can pick up secondary firearms from bodies. They can greet each other. They can
never scav running ever again.
Yeah, they can eat and drink. They can perform mag checks. This was super interesting. Bot can check someone for friend or foe by aiming at him for some time if they're not sure of one's intentions.
That's not how that works.
No. Are you my friend? Are you my friend?
No, that's not what happens.
Bots will sprint while patrolling. They'll be able to storm the player as a group if one is holding a position, which is cool. And they'll try to avoid dangerous places. I think it's cool.
Horrifying.
So I even wrote in our notes, I was like, all of this stuff will be cool and more immersive, but it will increase scav on scav violence.
You said may cause. You should just get rid of may and replace it with absolutely 1000% will.
It's gonna, So which you know, they update iteratively. So you know, there's all this talks about the karma system and ways to incentivize people to not. But scav running will be a cluster from now on because the bots are all going to look and act like player scavs, and player scavs are the least trustworthy beings in existence.
See, here's the thing. I actually think that it's going to be problematic because part of when they finally made it so that if you get aggroed by another player scav and you defend yourself, then you won't aggro all of the rest of the players, all the rest of the scavs. That was a move in the right direction because it was realistic in some ways. Yeah. But now they added this new mechanic where they'll aim to what they're like. That's too meta. What it's doing is it's basically saying we're going to program into our AI something that not that it would do if it was real, but something that it didn't do because it's not real, but that you only did because you were doing the fucking Turing test on the robot before. Yeah. Right. So it's weird. They're making their AI behave like the players did when their players were trying to basically test the AI. You know, it's not the right reason. Yeah. So what's going to happen is imagine if one of the AI scavs points at you. To me, it's fucking on. You're a player 100%. Scav. You're aggro. I'm gonna kill him. I want that to not aggro all the rest of the scavs. Yeah. Like you should mark that person as aggressive or whatever it is that you do, so that if I shoot back, I'm defending myself. Yeah, I think that line is the one that I have the most problem with. I do think outside of that, like I think it's just cool that they can do more stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like game breaking, but it's cool. But that one specifically, I feel like everybody had the same reaction too, which is like, when am I ever going to let somebody point a gun at me and not immediately shoot back? Like what one single context in Tarkov? Because I don't gain anything by letting him go, oh, jiggy and then walk away. You know what I mean? It's not like he like drops me 50,000 euros and I can be like, maybe it's worth the risk to see if he's going to kill me. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just going to walk away and then like I will have been terrified. So
It's going to be rough, especially since a lot of newer players use scav raids to find and raid items, right? Like I've found flash drives on my scav raid and morphine, and if I'm trying to get out and somebody freaking points their gun at me, I'm shooting them. That's just how it's going to be. So that's the AI behavior. So now we're getting into some of the stuff that's like, the juicy stuff. New weapons being added to the game. The Mossberg 590 A1 shotgun. I hate shotguns. Partly because they're bad, partly because I suck with them. This one looks really cool for sure. But the FN GL40 standalone single shot grenade launcher. And everybody's got their opinions. You know what I mean? What do you think?
Like that's everybody immediately says noob tube. It's like Call of Duty with the fucking M16 with it. I just don't think it's going to be anything like that.
No,
it's to me, it's how different is it than just having a grenade in your pocket and hitting G? Is it just that it's going to go further?
So when they talked about the ammo, there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different high explosive rounds are being added. And I know that there are some people who know way more about this stuff, but as I understand it, the difference between them is not so much that of damage, but that of like when they detonate after certain distances or certain amount of times. So I don't know. I imagine we don't know the numbers yet, obviously, on what its damage or what its radius is compared to that of just like a grenade or something like that. When he was running around with it in factory, it was definitely like he shot it, when it hit the ground, it blew up, which is definitely a huge, I guess, benefit over a grenade. Because even a VOG, you know what I mean? If you're, depending on where you are, you can get away from that. But if you're walking and it's just click, boom, you know what I mean? Like, especially with a damage radius. So we'll see. I mean, he said the gun's going to be expensive. The ammo's going to be expensive. It looked like in the build they were playing, which we can't say for certain is the official build. Some people caught that you could buy it $4 from Peacekeeper and the ammo. Like, it's just like you can just buy it, which will be interesting. I didn't catch how much it was or anything like that, but yeah, it's I'm like, I don't know. I'm not like, preaching the end of Tarkov because of this thing at all. I'm just interested to see what happens. I'm sure I'm gonna die to it and be super pissed, but sure,
it's one of those things like
time,
if it's everywhere, if it's every raid, it sucks. If it's once a day, I get killed by it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really expensive and like prohibitively expensive, right?
Yeah.
Like the. Well, I was gonna say it's a little bit different with thermals because the whole everybody complained about thermals. I guess one of the crazy people who didn't think it was like a huge deal because I didn't either run across something because you didn't know, but you'll know when you die to somebody with a 100%. So it's much easier. It's not like stream sniper or cheater or whatever. You don't know. Like if it's like, like you fucking know, that you're gonna die. Sort of thing.
And the damage at the end, you'll be able to see what damage killed you if it's the 40mm grenade. You know what I mean? So that's true. We will have actually like more data on like, hey, we're all dying from these all the time, or we're not. What I found interesting was that like he even addressed the fact that he was like, hey, we're not adding the smoke grenades yet. We're working on them and they're coming. And I feel like I'm not overly excited about it, and I'm also not preaching the end of Tarkov because of the grenade launcher coming. But I feel like it would have been a great opportunity to introduce it into the game with 6 different non-lethal rounds to like get it into circulation, how it feels. Squad play would look really cool if one of you had it and it was like gunk and it was just like smoke. You know what I mean? Like I've wanted the new smoke grenades for forever. Maybe even some like stun or flash ones, like. And it wouldn't have been such a like, you know what I mean? We've got 5 high explosives and a buckshot round. Like, you're going to find that dude every once in a while on factory running around with 12 of the buckshots, just like plowing through the hallway, just like ruining everything. And it just felt like I said, I'm not mad about it. I've wanted new smokes for so long.
You mad, bro?
I've wanted new smokes for so long. And I just feel like it would have been a great way to like slowly introduce it to the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in a less contentious.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. A few other ammos coming. The fictional 366 armor piercing round, which
I'm hyped.
I think honestly, that's gonna be dope.
It just occurred to me, should I like go and buy a bunch of fucking Vepr?
I thought about it. Now? Yeah, Vepr 209s. They taught he said it was gonna have like 42 to 45 pen and like 80 to 90 damage.
Yeah, that's insane. That's fucking ridiculous.
That's top tier. Like that's insane. He said new 9x19, 7N31. He didn't say stats. He said is better than 9mm AP. So 9mm basically getting a buff with this new round. It's going to be viable. 7.62x51 M993 he said is better than M61, which doesn't
define better.
Yeah, define better because you don't need more pen. You don't need more pen. He just said better.
Unless in the future, it's entirely. So actually, back when I first made Battle Buddy, and I was doing the armor, the ballistic stuff. Yeah. This was when you could stack your rig, armor rig with stack. So you could have like a Gen 4 and an M2 rig.
Yep.
And there was actually a lot to be said about that for a number of different reasons that I don't necessarily need or want to get into now. But maybe it's possible that when we have these armor, like the customizable armor rigs, that there will be some overlap.
Maybe.
And then maybe if there is any overlap, well, then that might make something that has 70 pen like more important, because let's say you have 2 level 6 plates.
Yeah.
When it hits the first plate, it's going to end up being like 48 pen afterwards or something.
Yeah.
It's going to have the pen is reduced, the damage is reduced. So now you only have a 50-50 chance of penning the second one, right? So
yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
Because if you're shooting somebody from the side and it hits their arm plate, like at a Gen 4 assault, and then goes to what's now a separate plate around their chest or something like that. I mean, they didn't expressly talk about that, but that could totally, those increased pen values would definitely help with that. That would be cool. Maybe.
Indeed.
So those are the new ammos that are coming. The 7 new stimulants coming that will be when they made it sound like that's going to be on the Scav Boss. I doubt they're going to be purchasable because they all feel like more of like concoctions, than military stimulants. Were you able to watch the part of the podcast where he was running around factory? He popped all 7 of them.
I was driving.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I was listening. I wasn't watching. I do remember having, I don't remember if I read comments later or something, but I remember someone saying that like he was jumping extremely high.
Yeah. At one point,
almost ridiculously high. Or maybe that was you had said that in your video.
It was like he put on moon shoes. It was like Nikita like went in and low gravitied that factory match. It was insane. Like
that seems like the complete opposite of what you'd think Nikita would do.
You would think, and this dude is jumping around like doing triple backflips, and Nikita's talking about the game, and I'm just like, is this a bug? Like,
and he was, because he was so against bunny hopping,
bro,
which to me was never a thing that I ever like. I never lost a fight and was like, damn, that guy b-hopped across the bridge and I, couldn't kill him. It was never a relevant factor in a single fight. Every now and then you might see someone like Willers or Ghost like jump up onto a place that you'd never expect, but there's 3 people in the world that fucking do that.
Yeah.
I've never been killed by it.
Okay,
so I don't know. It's just,
some people in the chat are saying that it was a bug and that they said it was a bug. And it kind of makes sense because what I was going to bring up is like right now, the only thing that affects your jump height is the strength skill. And right now, using stims, you can get your strength skill to level 51. And I haven't jumped. I mean, his feet were like 6 feet off the ground. It was just like boing, like jumping onto things on factory. And you're just like, what? So that.
Oh man, I have to watch this. Now I feel like he was fucking with everybody.
Dude, maybe he was. Maybe it was just for the lulz, but it was crazy, dude. It was crazy. So I'm happy to hear that they and someone said it was a stacking bug. That would kind of make sense if for that build it was allowing it to go past 51. Maybe at that time he had like 117 strength and he was just like going insane. Some of the other things is because we've talked before about how I like the stims. I did slow this part down and like stop and read some of them as they were popping up. The mule stim increases your carry capacity by 50%. So that's like, I mean, if
30 or 40 points.
Yeah. So if 70 was the cap where you went red and can't sprint, that's 100, 105. So that was interesting. And for a decent amount of time, there was super interestingly, some of these lasted 1,800 seconds. Some of the stims, which is a crazy amount of time.
No, 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Right?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Yeah. So that just seems like you pop it at the beginning, like, you know what I mean? 98% of raids are over in 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So, and then.
Well, not at 30 seconds.
Yeah. And 2 different stims, and I don't know if they stack. I don't know. But 2 different stims reduces the damage you take by 20%. One of them for 900 seconds. That just seems crazy.
That's going to be like 1 million ruble stim.
It has to be. 20%? Like,
that's insane.
That's insane. So if here's the problem with all the things. The grenade launcher is the same thing. Because a lot of people are like, well, if they're only findable on the boss, you know what I mean, then it's going to level out the supply. And then people were talking about the grenade launcher and they were like, I hate that you can buy it from traders. I wish it was only found in raid. And I almost kind of think it's like the opposite. It's like, if it's found in raid, it's farmable. And if it's farmable, it'll be on the flea for way cheaper than Nikita thinks it should be.
Yeah.
But if it's buyable from the trader and you can only buy one every 3 hours, I use it and I either die with it or live with it, but at no point can anybody in existence put it on the flea market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but everybody's just going to gamma it. So you'll never be able to take it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, with the stim, I guess
you can't put stims in your fucking gamma.
No. With the grenade launcher, yeah, you can't gamma that. And that was this kind of same point applied. But yeah. So it'll be
but the
stims for sure, yeah. That's true. You'd buy one every 3 hours and you would just stack them up because you'd never lose them unless you use them. So that's a really good point about the stims. But it was interesting. So I don't know if the 2 stack and it's like a huge reduction in damage. I don't know if that will get nerfed. You know what I mean? All of this, of course, it's like we have to play test it and see. But those were just some of the super interesting findings. We've got stims that last 30 minutes. We've got stims that reduce your damage taken. We had the moon shoe stim, which will probably get nerfed. And then the mule, which will 1 bajillion% be the meta. Everyone's got one in their gamma instead of the SJ6, right? Because now I can now I can carry more loot and get out with it. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if they're only findable on the scav boss or not. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to need to go into raids with like another 4 things that you need to have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Because then it'll just feel like I'm playing like that. That's the annoying part about some of the games that I really love, you know, like Diablo, where it's like, okay, I need 3 mana potions, I need 2 health potions, I need this scroll of town portal. Like, we already have all that stuff. I wish that a lot of these things were actually built into the game in the skill system and the progression, and not things that were consumables, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
no, that makes sense. And we've talked about before that I think there's an opportunity to bring some cool RPG elements in with like the stims and stuff like that. It is interesting because I was very against what you said at first about like, we'll make it so you can't put the stims in the gamma. But the more I think about it, it's an interesting idea because if you're going to do it right, where the stims have, in my opinion, the stims have an opportunity to bring some RPG elements to the game in a really cool way. In order to do that well, taking a stim has to have a noticeable effect on me. And if taking a stim has a noticeable effect on me and I can never risk it, it's kind of broken. You know what I mean? So
And there'll be a bajillion rubles, and you'll always be afraid of popping it.
Yeah, so
it'll be a thing that you're like, I don't want to use this ultra rare potion that I can only get once a week.
Yeah. So the more I think about it, the concept of like, deciding to bring this in, because he was talking a lot about that in the podcast about like how so much about Tarkov is preparing the way you want to, and Klean was talking about that too. So like, you know what I mean? It's like I can, maybe find this ultra rare thing and be like, I never want to use it. I don't ever want, the mule is worth 300,000 on the flea market. And if I can't gamma it, I don't want to bring it into a raid and risk it. Whereas somebody who's super confident that they can proficiently kill a lot of stuff and take it out. So I was very against that at first, but even just thinking about it, I think it would be interesting if they altered that a little bit. But that has to come along with the balance of the stims providing some sort of benefit. You know what I mean? Like there are a few stims that nobody cares about it. They're just insta sell. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's Augustin. It's like, what am I going to do with that? So that's interesting. Really quickly, we can brush through. You mentioned that you wish that stuff was built into the skill system. They are. The first portion of the reworked skills is coming. They said there is no skill reset. So for anybody listening, I know, at least for me, I've encountered a lot of people who were worried about that. Very justifiably so. I think resetting skills mid-wipe is awful, especially since we're grinding. I spent the last 7 full days of Tarkov just sniping with a Mosin because I ignored sniping this entire time, and now my quests were get it to level 4, get it to level 7, and get it to level 9. So I was like sniping nonstop, and I was like, if they wipe my skills, I'm gonna be so mad. So no wipe of skills. The new surgery skill, which as you level that up means the HP penalty gets reduced and you perform surgery faster. I think that's pretty interesting.
As soon as I do my CMS versus Serve 12 video. And
oh yeah, that's funny. I love that video, by the way, because I feel so justified because I was always team CMS plus ALU splint over it. So
there's still so many people in the comments that are like,
dude,
so what you're saying is use the Serve 12.
What? Yes. Are you serious?
Yeah. Like, okay, sure. As long as you keep buying my Serve 12 on the flea market for a markup.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
So what you're saying is blue tips like meta? Yes.
Yes.
As long as you're the one buying my blue tips for 900 rubles a round, sure, that's the way to go.
That's funny, dude. That's funny. New skill aim drills increase the aiming speed and the volume of aiming. I was just talking about this the other day where I was like, why does ADS feel like I'm lifting a bag of trash over my shoulder? Like the audio, it's just like whoosh. And it's like,
true.
That's all I'm doing here, buddy. Like, so it'll be nice that, it won't be until a full wipe hits that will be level 1 and level 1 aim drills and then see how that progresses. But at least for the next few months, we'll be able to level that up and see. And then the elite perks are really interesting. Elite perks are like a iffy thing, right? Because like how many skills do you get elite in a wipe? Very few. And you don't know the
2-3
perks of them. But the elite perks of this are that for the first 2 seconds, if you have an elite perk and you ADS, you do not your hands don't shake if you have a tremor or a fracture. And if you have no stamina left. So if you have no hand stamina, or if you have a fracture, or if you have a tremor, when you ADS, you get 2 seconds of solid tight ADS.
So you're going to ADS and then let go, and then ADS and then let go, and then ADS for 2 seconds and then let go.
Probably.
That'll be the new meta.
Probably. But I like it in theory, that there's an elite perk that I can, you know what I mean? Like, right, like with the adrenaline pumping, I can for at least a split second pull myself together and try and shoot. You know what I mean? But
I wish it was just a straight line from level 1 or level 0. There's nothing. And then level 50 is 100%. And it's just a straight line.
Yeah, a lot of the skills should be that way. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, it sounds like they're redoing strength to be a little bit more of that way. It's interesting. So they said they were reworking the strength skill, but they just all of the things they listed were already what the strength skill did. increase weight limits, increase the speed of the sprint, increase the jump height, increase the grenade throw, increase the melee attack. The elite, they changed the elite perk. The elite perk used to be none of your gear weight mattered except for what you put in your backpack. Now it's just your guns, both guns, your primary, secondary. That weight doesn't matter. Everything else does, which I feel like is, I mean, once again, who's leveled strength to elite ever? But if we're talking about the elite perk, that makes sense. But it was interesting because they said rework of the strength skill, and then they listed everything.
A lot of people have, but
really,
that's either due to exploits or like set it up so that like they would do what I did in Skyrim back in the day, which was Oblivion, where you could overnight. I wanted one of those. Did you ever play Oblivion?
Mm-hmm, a little bit, yeah.
The max You ever remember acrobatics?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get like really high acrobatics? No. Oh shit! Well, if you get like the boots of Spring Heel Jack, I think they were called, that would up your acro a bunch. But the way that it worked was like every time you jumped, that's like 1 point for acrobatics. So you could just make it so that like I would go and put, and I think if you like held down the jump button on the Xbox controller, it would. So I would like put one of my chairs on my controller so that it like held A down, and I was just like in a corner at a bar where I'd be standing on the bar, but your head would just instantly hit the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
So you wouldn't be like, and then the next day you'd be like, whoosh! You just jump across the fucking world, like from city to city. Like it was ridiculous.
That's amazing.
What was I talking about?
So you're saying that's how people leveled strength to 50.
Oh yeah, if they basically would like make it so that they were just running around in circles.
Yeah,
you know, like
overweight, and then
for 45 minutes, and then leave the raid, and then start a new raid. You know what I mean? Like it was just
okay. Well, for the normal people who have never leveled strength to elite, they've made the elite perk better. But I'll be interesting to see. I mean, and then they did the same thing with endurance and so just strength and endurance, where they said that they reworked it, but then all the things they listed were the same they've always been. Increase the stamina, reduce the stamina consumption for jumping, increase the speed of the breath recovery, all the stuff endurance have already done. So what I'm hoping is that by reworking them, it's less about like what that skill does for me and more about how it's leveled, how fast it's leveled. And then like we were talking about, I'm hoping it's more of a straight line drawn between 1 and 51. So it feels like it's not these just like snap and I can just jump on top of the shipping container now, but more of like that. And then, I mean, I definitely think strength needed to be leveled. It's hard, right? Because like if you're looking at it from the perspective of somebody who plays the game legit, strength feels like it needed to level faster. But if you're talking about the people that either exploit or spend 3 weeks hatcheting each other's legs in a bush on Shoreline, then it's hard because it's a pretty nice perk. So, but they're doing that, and then the ambiguous various fixes to old skills. So, it was nice. The big takeaway from this is that we got 2 new skills, which is cool. Strength and endurance, which are the main skills people care about, are getting reworked, and that we're not getting a wipe now. And he made it sound like they're gonna try to not wipe skills until a wipe. Like he kind of made it sound like this is like he's just said something along the lines. This is like our first phase. Like we're redoing a few of the skills and we'll do a few in 12.8. Like, you know what I mean? So that's just good.
I just had an idea, and this is let me just throw this out there for posterity. This might be a stupid idea, but I actually really like this. Imagine if as you level your character up, all of the skills level up as your character levels up.
Oh,
so let's just say, ignoring the second part of this that I'm going to say, every level 25 person is going to be the same. Like they have, level 30 strength or level 20 strength, like it. But then imagine if every time you went up a level, you could add you had 15 levels.
Yeah.
That you could add to something.
Yeah.
That right there is a way that I feel like is kind of fair and balanced, because as you level, you grow these things. It's not really exploitable.
Yeah.
unless you're just trying to power level your character.
Yeah.
I mean, in that way, the only thing you could do is just like farm labs over and over again, but you're not running around in circles doing
Exactly.
something that's like not the game.
You have to be good. Like you can farm labs and power level, but like, you know what I mean? Nobody would suggest to like a new player who's looking to like get into Tarkov and farm up their character. It's just like, oh, you've been playing for a few months. Yeah, just farm labs. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to be able to do that. So at least they're put some sort of skill cap behind it. And
what that does is it makes it so that your character, like in an RPG way, that your characters are different in some way. If you want to be a sneaky guy, you put it in covert movement. You know, you stack covert movement, or you stack endurance and stamina, or you stack, you know, whatever. Like,
for
I'd
sure,
be fine with that.
I
because
would be
you're still,
I would be fine with that too. There would always be like a meta, you know what I mean? But there is in any RPG game, right? Like in any RPG game, if you want to be
builds.
the warrior, this is how you spec, bro. Like, you know what I mean? But it would also make people who play with like squads or duos or something like that. It's like you spec this way, I'll spec this way. Which could be really cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like if there's 3 or 4 different medical ones, you know what I mean? Like you could spec all your medical points into the surgery kit one so that pretty early on you can surgery kit fast and restore that limb health, like, or something like that. So,
but imagine like the concept of builds in Tarkov with the same system we have here now.
Yeah.
Just changing how you allocate those points and how they're leveled. Nothing else changes.
Yeah.
You now have made the game infinitely more of an RPG.
Infinitely. 100%. Infinitely.
And you haven't changed anything.
Infinitely more of an RPG and infinitely less of a like, oh, I see that guy, you know, just throwing 8 grenades as soon as he goes into a raid and then commit suicide. So he can go into the next raid and throw 8 grenades and then commit suicide. Like, it's like, play the game, all your skills level up the same, and then every level you get 2, 3, 4, 5 points you can allocate. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that would be dope.
Like
and then they could just worry about balancing what the skills provide, like the benefits, and not like, okay, well, throwing grenades gives you this many points. Like they've had to spend so much time on like how many points does each thing give you? Oh, okay, people are abusing it. Now we have to do the diminishing returns. How long? How many is too many? How many is too little? Oh, this is too little. What's the factor of diminishing returns? It's like, and all that time could be spent. It's just on like, well, how balanced are the skills? This one's way too OP. We'll nerf that one a little bit, and then I'm all about that. But
there's so many different ways that they could do that.
Yeah.
There's so many different. Just that concept of maybe a core set of things level as you level, and then you can, you know, manually add skill points to certain things, and you have to choose, right? Do you want to be able to? That would actually be interesting, in that like you could only choose one, and let's say you're going to get 50 levels, and you can only, you know, that's only 50 skill points that you can distribute. It's not enough to make. It's enough to make like 2 things maxed out, or make yourself average. You know, or to make like 3 things above average. But again, like I'm fine if I'm up against somebody that can heal much better than me, and then somebody else that can't heal as well as the other person, but they're a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And then me, who, you know, maybe I can aim under pressure a little bit better without shaking too much, but I can't heal, and you know, I've got the same HP. Well, we're all gonna die to 3 bullets. But now your character feels different. It feels like there's some replayability if they add a prestige system and you reset your account. Well, now you can do something different. But imagine a page on the wiki that was like, here's all the science videos and all the shit we could do around, like, here are the builds.
God, yeah.
It makes the game so much fucking better, dude.
And the fact that like it can stand in as like a pseudo like end game. Like, what if after 40 you got 2 points per level? So like there's a reason, like 49 to 50 it takes as much XP as 1 to 37, but I've got a reason to do it because I'm so close to elite blank and I want to get there. And then if I can get to 60, then that's enough points to get me to elite this. And it's like it's not a full end game, but like right now you get Kappa, there's nothing. It's just farm money and PvP well. But like there's like a something to achieve, to attain, to like, you know what I mean, make a video about how this epic build right before a wipe, you know what I mean, landmark level 69 and has like every skill point allocated to very specific build, and he's just like a machine. But he's still gonna die to 3 bullets, just like me. Like, yeah, I like that a lot. I like that.
Just make that game.
Yeah, I do too. The problem is like I feel like Nikita wouldn't go for it because he wants that, like, you got to work for it, you got to earn it. You want to be good at sniper, you better hit 3,000 snipe headshots. Like, the game doesn't feel like that now, but I just feel
but at
like
the same time, Nikita, if I have a rifle and I'm aiming with the rifle, that's also improving ostensibly. If I have a sniper, you know what I mean? Like, my arms and my eyes, they're not asking what fucking genre of gun I'm holding. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is just more realistic. Like, as you get more experience with all the things, you improve all the things.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about like literally bicep to curl ratio, like that's a 1-to-1, thing. But like,
that's very true. And you wouldn't spec those points into a skill like sniper if you didn't intend to snipe. So those people would end up being the ones who would sniping more anyway. So it's not like they're circumventing the fact that you have to snipe to get better at sniping. Well, they're allocating their points to sniper because they want to snipe. So it actually almost does work that way too. Bro, we gotta ship it. We gotta ship this off to the big man because that would be sick. Maybe people in chat aren't about it. And drop a comment down below if you hate it or if you love it. But I think that's a great idea. I like it a lot.
You're not allowed to not like it though.
Okay, yeah. If you don't like it, go post somewhere else. Okay, so the other big thing, and then we can do some like final thoughts or whatever. And I think you had something you want to chat about. But the other big thing. I want to know your opinion on how big of a thing this is. Thorax health is being increased from 80 to 85. Just go. What do you think?
My initial gut reaction is huge.
I agree.
But at the same time, it depends on, like, that's based on the current ammo values.
Yes. Yeah.
If all of a sudden he added 6 damage to every bullet, well, now it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Right? So it really does depend. Not being one-tapped to the chest except in the X% of the time that the bullet will fragment is very interesting. I can't see how it's going to be. Worst case scenario, nothing's different. Right?
Yes, basically.
It's still 2 bullets to die or still 1 bullet to die. Best case, this is a step towards the slightly longer time to kill, which I think a lot of us...
And we were just talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, which a lot of us are okay with. But yeah, it does make bolt action rifles even fucking less useful. And
I think that's the big thing. So I was all about it, and then almost immediately got into a conversation with one of my mods. And then I also super respect Crash as a content creator, and he put out a video basically talking about, like, bolt actions are dead. And my gut reaction, I didn't really consider what it would mean for that. And the thought behind that is, right, like, if I'm using a bolt action requires much more skill than, a DMR or full auto weapon, then, I should be able to, drop somebody and stuff like that. And the thesis is, like, if there's a semi-auto weapon and a bolt action weapon that chamber the same round, and now they can't one-tap, why would you ever choose the bolt action weapon? Which I agree with, and I hear all the feedback, but my thought was let's say damage is still 80. Why do you choose a bolt action? Like, you can...
Because you have to level up the sniper skill.
Yes, but...
Not because you want to.
Well, but that's the thing. The feedback I've been getting about how bolt actions are dead now has nothing to do with the quests that require you to level up that skill. Which is why I found the feedback interesting, because I agree with the sentiment, but my thought is that changing it from 80 to 85 didn't change the fact that DMRs were just better.
No. It's the nail in the coffin.
Okay, yeah. Like, I guess
it's before. At least I could have the potential to one tap you, which is a lot cooler when you're like,
yeah,
But now, if I have to go bang,
yeah,
bang, and there's 3 guys there.
Yeah,
well, now it's 6
you're never
fucking
gonna
shots. You know, it's. I mean, I don't know what they could do because I don't want them to be like more accurate, or even if they increase the muzzle velocity, it doesn't matter enough. Like, we don't shoot far enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the first thing that came to mind, which I don't even like, but it would need to be something like this, where like imagine if you can't put more than a 3x on any other rifle, right? Like if you want to shoot far, you need to use a bolt action.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. But I mean, like, again, what's the point of a DMR?
Yeah.
Most of the time when you make DMRs, you know, you're going to make them for medium to long range. I don't know, but like something like that from that perspective could make the bolt actions more viable. But yeah, right now that just
the 2 solutions that I thought of. So I guess I don't want to get confused, because like I totally empathize with the fact that like this very objectively makes bolt actions worse to use. You know what I mean? Like I totally get that. As somebody who just misses their shots, unless I'm questing, I'm going with a DMR because I don't trust myself to nail those shots. But people who have spent time with bolt actions in the game and are proficient with them, and like have been able to get into situations where they can 1v3 with a bolt because they can hit those shots, I can totally understand the frustration there. So like the 2 things that I was thinking, and I just feel like people would at either, which is you either just give bolt actions a % damage buff, not penetration damage. You don't have to redo everything in the entire game. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying we go back 5%. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to make every ammo a 1-tap. It just brings you back up, and you don't have to mess with any of the equipment in the game. It's just if you've got that's a very RPG scenario, right? You know what I mean? Like 2-handed swords have plus 30 damage. You know what I mean? Like I get that, and I get that people aren't all about that, but then we're back in business. Or the other thing is we now, I don't want to like over speak this or anything, but we do now have a precedent for fictional ammo, so you could just create bolt action only rounds.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like unless they made it so that, you know, change all the DMRs right now over to some other caliber that, you know, because if it's like the 8R, you know, you're shooting 9.95 one at a time. Well, like now that's a good argument for why you might use a bolt action that's shooting M80 rounds, or, you know, M61, M62 versus 5.56.
Yeah.
Those are interesting, like ton of damage, slow fire rate, faster fire rate, but you're gonna have to hit multiple shots. When they shoot the same bullet, that's when I kind of just wish that they hadn't introduced.
Yeah.
Like I'd be fine if they introduced all the like the DMRs with the existing calibers there are today, but like I don't know, they should have just made all the bolt actions be a different caliber altogether, and then they wouldn't have to have this weird thing where whatever we do, they need to be not realistic, which Nikita doesn't like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, like making it so that 100% of the people will survive a shot to the chest with this bullet.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what they've done essentially. Is if I have a 308 cartridge and I am standing directly at you and I shoot you in your solar plexus, you will survive. If there's a 3% frag chance, 97% of the time.
Yeah.
You feel like,
but
that's realism.
Yeah, no, but exactly. But I'm and both of us are never ones that fight for realism. You know what I mean? I want balance. I want enjoyability, and I'm tired of getting 1-tapped for sure. We talked about Time to Kill 2 podcasts ago. We talked about Time to Kill with Klean. I saw this and immediately got elated because I was like, Time to Kill can be a little bit longer. Full auto fights, maybe not quite as much. I mean, most ammos that you're going to be full autoing will require 1 extra bullet now, which it could, you know, it's not going to explode Time to Kill, but there might be a few situations. But definitely coming against people with bolt actions or DMRs, you're going to have more of a time to react, hit the deck, get to cover. So I was happy about it. But then I totally understand. I totally understand the bolt action, the people who love using bolties, the concern there. And I want, like I said, like I would actually rather a world where I don't get one tap from a DMR, but I can get one tap from a bolt action. Like it's skill. If I know you hit a shot, you know what I mean? If I just know without a shadow of a doubt, instead of just like camping in a corner with Vepr Hunter, just like pop, 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 pop. No, like, you know what I mean? I'm a few hundred meters away from you and I get one tapped. It's like, homie hit his shot. Like, you know what I mean? And that feels like I'm okay with that as a punishing game like Tarkov. So from me, man, I don't know. I would be totally fine with just a damage buff to bolties. I'd be totally fine with 6 fictional rounds that only fit bolt actions, and we can fix the problem. You know what I mean? Like I
agree with you, and I love the idea of like, by all means, if we start suspending disbelief with little pieces here and there, all we're doing is making the game better,
more fun.
There are so many ways that we can improve the game. You know, if the main reason why we don't do a bunch of things that objectively make the game, in my opinion, better, is because they're not realistic, well, then don't be a hypocrite and accept all of these other fucking things that I'm telling you and acknowledge that they're not realistic too. And then we can open the floodgates and build a better game that is hardcore, realistic in many aspects, punishing, difficult, but also exciting and not aids to play.
Because we've talked about this a million times about that, exactly, that like something can be hardcore, it can be punishing, it can be brutal, it can be really, really hard to master and enjoyable and fun. And that's kind of what I was alluding to back with the like, I'm totally fine with bolt actions one tapping me, because it means you chose that over a gun that could full auto, you chose that over a gun that could semi-auto, you hit your shots, you're good with it. Maybe I can hit my shots and land some, like, I'm okay with that as somebody who is very aware of what Tarkov wants to be. You know what I mean? But it's just the realism thing just, it doesn't hold up, man. We can't be doing arts and crafts on our arms, pulling bullets out, you know what I mean? Or popping adrenaline and running on 2 broken legs if we want realism. And so it's just about balance. It's about fun. And I think we can have it both ways. I think it can be hard and challenging and brutal and fun and enjoyable to the people who like those types of games.
No, dude, Dark Souls is only realistic. I mean, it's only a good game because it's challenging and realistic.
Yeah.
Because when you're fighting the 11-foot tall guy in armor that then has a blood dragon come out of his spine halfway through the fight, like, that shit happens to me on the reg.
All the time. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know what I mean? I think for me personally, it feels like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The bolties are going to suffer, but I am excited for a hopefully longer time to kill. Like you were saying, it's really until we get our hands on it. It could feel like 5 HP is a lot, and then we could realize that we really only feel it in very few situations. He could sneak in some extra damage to certain things. Who knows? All of our opinions are subject to change 7 minutes into the patch actually hitting, but those are some initial thoughts. The meta for sure, I saw some people in chat talking about it. The meta for sure is going to be SVD with 7 and 1, because 7 and 1 is 86 damage. So the Mosin can technically still one tap. You just have to be using 7 and 1. I believe it's the only round that has over 85.
With these new armor plates, I mean, there's so many unknowns when this armor stuff comes out, because who knows if they could be writing this all from scratch now, like a new system. It could be new formulas, which would mean everything would be different. Maybe 86, if it has, like, let's say it's got 50 pen and 86 damage and it hits level 5 right now, that's like 90% chance to pen. You're gonna have damage, you know, the armor damage is this amount, the like follow through damage is this amount, the damage reduction is this amount. Like, all of these things are just like set things that I can throw in my calculator and tell you. But imagine if it changes enough to where 86, if it penetrates, it'll penetrate 90% of the time, but it's always 78 damage.
Yeah.
Well, then now it's even more significant, right? So they're changing a lot of dials, and a lot of things are happening that are in the future that we can't know what it's going to be like.
And
So I don't know.
That's a really valuable point to make, because it's hard to remember like that we're not at like the beta stage of the game where they're like polishing it. We're at like the beta stage of the game where they're like, this core major game mechanic is coming sometime soon. And so when we speculate on smaller changes being made now, it's hard to tell if those smaller changes were made as a reaction to community feedback, they were planned changes all along, or they're the foundation of further changes, and these changes will make sense when these changes come into the game. That's a really valuable point to make, that we don't know that, and we aren't even necessarily entitled to know that. So we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. But
yeah, like imagine that they also fix fragmentation along with that.
Yeah.
You know what? You know how much damage 366 Gexa will do to you?
Really?
Half the time, every other bullet's 45% frag chance. Every other bullet will hit you for 170 damage.
Ooh, see, I forget.
Every other, it's 110, 170, 110, 170, 110, 170. Like, what the fuck?
That'd
right
be a
now it doesn't, because it has 14.
Machine.
It has 14 pens, so it never fragments. But like, imagine,
dude,
there's all these other changes. Well, then now all of a sudden the whole gameplay, the whole way that the game feels changes.
That's
so, like,
really interesting. What if instead of adding bullets that only fit bolt actions, there are just like bullets that have higher chance to fragment that end up being ones people use in bolt actions more.
Even if it was a 50% fragmentation chance, it'll do 78 or it'll do 82 damage.
Yeah.
50% of the time it does 82, 123 damage.
Yeah.
50% of the time it definitely does enough to fucking one shot you, or it'll do enough to like black out all your limbs in one shot. But
if there was a way,
then it's more interesting, because now there's 3 people and you'll down them all in best case 3 shots, worst case 4, 5, 6. But it's like,
but you could be in that fight and then hit one and be like, oh sweet, I got the crit, and you know what I mean, and he goes down, and like, so if there was a way to do it to make the rounds with the lower frag chance more appealing to something like a DMR, maybe it's got higher pen or something, and then make it where the higher frag chance rounds are more appealing to bolt actions. I don't know how you would do that, but like, that could be a way to
add a plus frag chance onto every gun with the type sniper.
Yeah, like, because then you don't even have to you don't have to do damage buffs. You don't have to do like special rounds.
Imagine if it was on the barrel, and that barrel could be found on scav bosses where their guns have like 3 of the 12 parts on their gun build are like special versions where it's like an elite charging handle that's like plus 20 ergo or something. Like, I know that people don't want this, but it's just better for the fucking game, man. Dude,
I'm telling you, we're going all the RPG things that I want. Yes, because then you'd farm scav boss, like hoping for the drop. That's what I want. I want to go in right now with the hoping for the drop. Is he's like, he had a labs key card, he had a Bitcoin, like, you know what I mean? So
every meta gun is the same, right? But if there's not, like, one of the best parts of Diablo, which I always talk about all the time, was how like there's a million people that have like an Enigma Dusk Shroud, but like that one has 50% enhanced durability, and because it's like a roll between like 5 and 15 of this one stat. You're still happy to have the 20 other stats it comes with, but this one is special in this way. I don't know.
100%.
I fucking love that, man.
I would love that too. And it's just interesting you brought up fragmentation chance, because I forget about it because it's broken, but that really would add so much more depth to the game, and bring us into, because fragmentation, you could just replace that with crit chance if you're coming from RPG. You know what I mean? It's more damage. Is it 50% more damage or 100% more damage?
50%
50%
more. So
more damage.
It will do 150 if it's fragmented. It's not exactly that, but it's pretty much exactly that.
Functionally. So, see, that would just be sick, because then a lot of rounds would just, come into play. That'd be dope. So I hadn't considered how that could potentially even fix the bolty thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that's fractally solves a problem from a number of different angles
with a relatively simple solution. I don't know how hard it is to fix fragmentation chance. I imagine it's pretty hard since they haven't done it in years, ? I don't know.
No, I bet you, I'd be willing to bet that it's not hard at all. That it's either a bug that's like, I guarantee they have like a if pen equals 20 or something, or it's in the map somewhere. But the thing is that they can't fix it, because if they fix it, all of the changes that they've been making to the ammo would render some ammo so fucking broken.
Yeah, very true.
That it would be insane, because then like leg meta with rip ammo would be actually viable, because I mean, how much damage would that do? So like rip has 0 pen. Oh my god. Yeah, so it would do 265 times 1.5. It would do 400 damage.
It's like one shot to the legs almost.
Like holy shit.
And
400 damage.
What's the frag chance?
100%.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Most of the rip ammo has 100% fragmentation chance.
I guess that makes sense,
right? It's too low, it's actually 0. But that means that it would do fucking 400 damage, right? So like they can't fix it because they need to redo all the ammo.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's something that they haven't figured out. I think it's like the bug has turned into like, well, that's the system.
Yeah.
You know? We've gotten used to that Band-Aid being stuck on with chewing gum over there, that's a part of the system now.
Yeah. I mean, they could reset all the fragmentation chance values to 0, fix it, and then have time to like almost like wave it in, like the first pass at like what they think is balanced based on the current meta, and then adjust accordingly. I'm not saying that's like the most elegant solution, but it would be better than just turning it on and then in 7 minutes the entire meta shifts to rip rounds, 4,000 rubles a bullet. It would just be a way for them to fix it, because I mean, until you brought that up, I just completely forgot about that as a mechanic, and as a guy who constantly wants those little RPG, and it's not even just an RPG mechanic, it's a real mechanic too. Fragmentation, you know what I mean? It's why the rip rounds have 100% fragmentation chance, because those rounds are engineered to fragment. So it's not even just like that, Jesse wants RPG mechanics. Like, it is a real mechanic too. So I'd love to see it in the game working, but you're right that all the changes that they've made since it was been broken, it would just be buck wild if they just turned it on, just lights off, lights on. So however they want to do that, man, I wish they would.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's all the big stuff coming in 12.7. There's a huge list of fixes, the fixes to the flea market, fixes to the weapon preset system, various bugs, hideout stuff. They added some new animations for the SV98 and the PPSH, which I know we were all really, really looking forward to. He made a quick mention about 12.8 and the fact that one of the focuses for 12.8 is like quality of life. So he was just saying that like
I'm horrified.
We're working on like UI in the flea market. And
I feel like right now is like an opportunity for I need to like put something together and send, because now's the only time.
That's so true.
Like the ice cream truck is going by, and I don't have the change jar. I have to run upstairs.
Yeah, and you're going to miss it if you don't get it now.
I feel like now's my chance to be like, as someone who I was at one point the director of UX for a tech company.
Bro, send the message tonight, bro.
I mean, but the thing is that I would have to draw up a bunch of mock-ups, and then I'm also going to have to explain the how and the why, because a lot of people will say like, oh, well, why don't you just move this button here? I put that button there for a fucking explicit reason, because it reduced the length of your thumb. Everybody's like, oh, well, can't you just, I'm used to the button, the search button being in the upper right hand corner. Can't you put it there? Yeah, let me one-handed try to reach the fucking, I can't reach the button. So it's like, you then have to mock stuff up. I then have to design it, and then also explain the reasoning for why things are chosen, so that they don't just get glossed over.
100%.
Which at this point basically means I'm not gonna fucking do it, and I'm just gonna
Just wave at the ice cream truck and just hope that when it parks, it's in a good spot.
Hope someone's qualified.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So they said 12.8 is going to be, some of that, more content, more stuff. Before we move on, 12.7 doesn't have an official release date, but they have been really good recently at like patch notes means it's coming in a few days. There is no wipe. There is no skill reset. He said they're aiming for early next week. I would assume that's somewhere between Monday and Wednesday. I'm sure they'll tweet it out the day before, so follow them on Twitter. I don't know, man. 12.7 it's got me excited. Maybe it's just the customs expansion. That looks so dope, but
I'm extremely disappointed. There's the biggest disappointment of 12.7 is that my streamer item is not coming in 12.7.
What? You said I was looking forward to that.
That's 12.8.
Did you get an official statement from them saying that they're moving it to 12.8?
I asked Nikita if it was, and he said no, they're not adding. Other than like a few of the new guns, they're not adding more items. No. But he said, I was like, so 12.8 question mark? He says, yeah, definitely 12.8. So
freaking
what that means is never. So I'll play Tarkov again in 12.8.
Oh. Well, I'll play it for you and die a lot and let you know how the 85 thorax damage goes.
Yeah, I'll probably play it, and I don't know. Right now, dude, I am kind of looking forward. I'm gonna play it after this. I wasn't planning on it, but I opened up the game, and I kind of feel like if I could have some good raids, I might like it. But
when we're talking about it, it always seems so good, doesn't it?
Dude, the grass is always greener, man. Like,
well,
yesterday,
elaborate. Tell me about why's the struggle.
I think I'm just over, like, I don't want to do the last, like, 5 quests. Yeah. They're not fun to do.
No.
And even when I do them, all they're doing is, like, the whole point of it is so that I can change my answer to the question of, do you have Kappa yet? When people ask me. Like, it's not because I want the Kappa. I don't give a fuck. It's not going to make a difference to me, honestly, really. Like, it really doesn't. Like, why do I want to play? Because when I spend 10 minutes building a gun and then putting together a loadout and buying stuff, and then I go to buy 3 of them because you can only buy 3 of them. So it's like they've made it so that I can't put like 50 kits together at once. It's like I spend all my fucking money to make like 2 or 3 kits. I get into a raid and I die like instantly to some bullshit, and then it's like I do it again. I have a good raid. Cool, great. I jump into the next raid. I'm all stoked. Instantly die.
Yeah.
I say, maybe it's because of this time and this day and this server. Maybe I'll get lucky and have a good labs raid. And then I spawn in, turn left, take 3 steps and die. Yesterday, I just alt F forward. And that's when I told you, I'm like, dog, I don't want to even do the podcast. I'm like, I'm so fucking, I hate this game right now. I'm so sick of just getting sent back to the stash.
Bro.
I want to play a game. And I've been spoiled with Valorant because it's like I don't have enough time in between. Even if I die and it's like I'm spectating my team, I'll like go over, type 3 or 4 thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm up again, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm just spoiled with being able to not have to go back to my menus over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. I get that for sure. It's definitely felt like that. Like it's harder to build kits in bulk and you're dying earlier in raids a lot more. And it actually weirdly has...
for 2.5 years straight for 50 hours a week, and then you're going to farm.
Oh, I understand it. I totally understand it. I honestly, like, I was going to say that, like, So we talked last week about the content creation side of things and how, like, it's hard for streamers to play new games and stuff like that. I think from a Tarkov perspective, I think one of, like, the best things that can happen is for people who don't want to play the game to stop playing it. You know what I mean? It feels like the Reddit would just dry up. You know what I mean? I just go in there and it's like, why aren't any of you playing? Just stop playing. You know what I mean? So I see a lot of people, Pesley's been playing Rust a lot and having so much fun, and like you have a blast playing Valorant, and Deadly's been in the Dark Souls, and it's like, I feel like it's like, as much as I'm sure is hard from the other side, right? Like the content creation side, I feel like it's a good thing to like if you just don't want to play it, don't play it. You know what I mean? Like that's almost like a good example to set, but I definitely get it. Yeah, it has felt like an insane amount of time spent in the stash. And then it like, if you last longer than 7 minutes in a raid, it reintroduces gear fear because you're just like, I've been playing for 2 hours and this is the longest I've made into this raid, so I really want to survive. And then
it's not even gear fear.
No,
it's like,
yeah.
It's investment of my time fear.
Yes.
Do I even want to loot the 5 dudes I just killed in a 1v5?
Yeah.
Because I'm probably going to die on the way out to some other bullshit.
Yeah.
That it's like,
so it's like dying early in the raids a lot makes dying later in raids feel worse because it's like I just can't get one win. And why invest the 50 minutes into this raid where every minute that passes you're more invested in this loot you've been collecting and the kills, and then you die on the way out. So I definitely
imagine if you could just say this is the loadout I want to run right now. Like preset loadout. But imagine if when you died, it brought you to this stats screen, and when you hit next, you were already loading into another raid. Like that just instantly makes it not shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If it brought you to the stats, and then when you hit next, it was just the map selector. And then in the bottom left, it was like go to stash if you wanted to switch your kit.
And reduce 612,918 rubles every time I click next.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just like let me do. I don't care. Like I don't care about losing the gear. I just hate that I feel like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel that.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to something like a gear preset. I mean, that's what we wanted when they did the weapon builds.
Yes.
Like we wanted the preset system for the last 2 years, and they did the weapon builds, and it was like a really shitty, not user-friendly version of the thing that we wanted. And then I don't even use it because honestly, it takes too long. It takes too long to. It's the opposite, right? Because it's supposed to save time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't save time, and it's actually more time in many cases. Because you got to buy stuff from the flea market, and you go to click purchase all, and then it's like, oh, it's not available. And
what do you think? So I completely agree that like one of like a primary thing that causes this frustration is getting killed really early into raids and often. Like, what do you think is different about Tarkov today and Tarkov a year ago, where it didn't feel that way as much? Do you think it's more centered around spawns? Do you think it's late raids? Do you think it's like just an amalgamation of a bunch of things? But I think we both agree it just didn't always feel that way. We've always wanted there to be less time between raids, always, but it didn't always feel this bad. What do you think?
No,
it is.
So, and maybe this is because, let me rewind, because back in the day, the spawns now are almost the best that they've ever been. Because were you ever part of the boiler side custom spawn?
No, but I've heard, right? Everybody spawned on that side, right?
Well, no, but imagine on the boiler, you know how there's like just a concrete like brick box where you open up the metal door, you go down, and that's the extraction.
Oh yeah.
There were times where you'd spawn there, and then as like you were like loading in, you would see somebody spawn in front of you like they were your teammate. Oh my
god.
But that was rare, and I think that was a bug. But there would also be, you know, on the other road that's parallel with it, that goes along past the like the checkpoint.
Yeah.
And there were like 3 player spawns there. And then there was also like a spawn in the box, in the buildings in between those two roads. God. You know, the ones with the pipes and the little metal stairwells. So like you would spawn in, and I would turn right and be like, like, and I loved that. I used to watch, that's when I watched Smoke a lot, and Smoke hated it because like he wanted to be immersive. But I was like, I fucking loved it. And the reason why it was so great is because this was before all the things like face hitbox and all the different ammo where fights took longer.
Yeah.
And because I was better than the average player at the time, I won those fights 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Now I lose those fights 80% of the time. So maybe it's just that I'm on the other side of it. And now it's more of a coin flip, and that like even shitty players, like every fight's a coin flip for everybody all the time, basically. which is sure, it's great for the shitty players because they're doing better than they otherwise would have back in the day. But the thing is that as they improve, their stats are not going to improve.
Yeah.
So that's again like going to hurt the longevity, because part of why I love this game so much is because I put so much time and effort and thought into improving as a player.
Yeah.
But then over time, that just got completely diminishing returns to now I'm less successful than I was when I was brand new, and my sensitivity was 10 times what it should have been, and I didn't know where anything was, Yeah. So I think that's honestly the difference between then and now.
Just the average skill has gone up, or
no, at the time to kill.
Oh yeah. That's so true.
Again, because like if there's 10 people and let's say this is metaphorical. I'm not saying this, but let's say I'm the best person out of those 10.
Yeah.
And let's say it's very skill based.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a 98% chance of winning a fight because there's like a 6 bullet time to kill, then I'm going to win 98% of the first fight, 98% of the second fight, 98% of the third fight. So really, I'm going to kill the 10 other players.
Yeah.
90% of the time or something. That's good because I'm confident that my skills can get me through those fights. But if every fight is a coin flip, well, then it's heads or tails.
Yeah.
Well, I lost.
If you get into 6
heads
fights.
Or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails. It just doesn't feel, like as good as it used to. But again, this might be good. I mean, the thorax thing, it might make a big difference. The armor stuff might make a big difference.
Yeah.
There's a million changes that they could do in spite of or in light of the reaction and the response and the videos that we all make as a result of the new changes. So who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I've really been like marinating on what we talked about with Klean, which is just like make it harder to hit, make recoil harder. You know what I mean? Like, and I've just been like, man, because we had been, I don't know, man. I threw out that idea about changing all the ammo and getting rid of ammo and all this stuff. And it's just like, if it's harder, if just hitting shots was more skill based, it alleviates a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you can't get laser beam guns.
You can lift your gun up and you press the shift button and your gun does not move.
Yeah.
I challenge fucking anybody on planet Earth that isn't like Jason Bourne. Just any of you guys, if you've never shot a rifle, pick up a guitar or something, right? And just hold it there and see if you're able to not move. Like, just put it up against the clock, the middle of a clock, right? And make it so that it doesn't move at all.
Yep.
Not a fucking fraction of an inch. And the further away it is, the smaller it is, the more all of you'll find your heartbeats.
Yeah.
Your actual pulse changes if you hold your breath.
And then
like
imagine
all of those things have an effect. And then in this game, it's like you can just hold it there. So at that point, all it is you're playing a rhythm game.
Yeah.
You're playing Guitar Hero. Right? It's like the thing comes in and you go red.
Yep.
Green,
press the button at the
blue.
right time. Yeah.
Because that's all. I mean, that's how I win so many of my fights. Is half the time I go prone and I put the crosshair at head level and I wait until they walk by and I click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been something I've been thinking about a lot to improve time to kill. Is if full auto was just nuts and you wanted to semi-auto more often and being really good at aiming meant you were good at Tarkov, or at least that part of it would just help. That plus maybe a little bit of increased damage plus some really customizable armor zones could really push time to kill. You're not pushing time to kill down as a whole, where it's just like time to kill now is 50% lower. You're making it more of a variety and making it much harder to get into those coin flip interactions where they can still exist, which is part of the Tarkov experience. You never know. But instead of every fight being a coin flip, it's 1 out of 10 fights is a coin flip, and that's at least going to feel better. So, man, I really hope. I've been thinking about that a lot because I'd never considered that before, and I really like the idea.
They could definitely make it so that things like oh man, I'm now realizing. I wonder if I said this before and I advocated for this before. I'm pretty sure I did, and now I wonder if I'm putting a foot in my mouth. Surprise, I am capable of being wrong, and I know it. But just thinking about the whole holding your breath and your heartbeat and all that stuff, like if you run 100 meters and you're aiming and you've been shot in your arm earlier and you did, and you did surgery on it or whatever, like that's like 94% of the raids. Like I got shot in the arm at one point and I just ran a bunch.
Yep.
So like, and people in chat are like, I'm an army sniper. I can hold, whatever. And I don't have any sway whatsoever. Yeah. But were you shot 2 times in your arm and you just ran 100 meters with 50 kilograms of shit on your back? Then it probably shouldn't be able to fucking hold it perfectly still.
Yeah.
Or when you shoot, maybe there's a lot more recoil, like a base AK-74 US at the beginning of a wipe. Like that feels like it's going to reward people for lining up the shots, but you don't want to make it random. I don't know. This is a slippery slope because you want to make it so that it's not random.
Yeah.
But that it's not easy.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want it to just be all RNG where instead of a coin flip, it's just everybody's just got a 1 in 10 chance of anything happening. But it's driving it more skill, driving it in a way that's more skill based, which I think can be done by just like increasing the recoil. You know what I mean? Or like Klean was saying, like significant ergo penalties, or just I don't know. I think there's a way to make it happen. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe the time to kill, maybe the 85 will help a little bit. But I just completely agree that pushing the time to kill a little bit longer, making it a little bit more skill based, would improve the whole experience. Even for, and I think an important point there is even for casuals, because they can get better. Like you were saying, all the people that are brand new to Tarkov feel really good that they can, Vapor Hunter a Chad 50% of the time, but they'll be 1,000 hours into the game with the same exact survival rate, and then they'll be frustrated about it. You know what I mean? So it does improve the game for them too, because it means getting better means you're getting better.
Yep. For sure. Oh God.
Whoa.
I don't know if you could hear that. Could you hear that?
Good.
That's a fucking juju. Somebody just ordered some juju. Juju.
Okay. I mean, you said earlier you had a little thought to throw out.
Yeah. So maybe we can toss this out because I haven't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about the details about this.
Okay.
So maybe this is like some food for thought that you can think about, or maybe people can think about. And then either ask us some questions or something at some point. But what I was thinking was kind of a stopgap between open world, with the open world that we envision as like Skyrim, open world, versus where we are now. And it was kind of like, imagine if like you. And I don't know if anybody's mentioned this, but imagine if like when you get to an extraction, what it does is it's essentially like it fades to black. Maybe you go to your different screens, but then it instantly drops you into another raid. So because a lot of the issues that people have with it being fully open world is, well, then how many servers are there going to be? How many people are going to be on the servers? How is the loot going to pop in and out? But if you make it so that like it's still, imagine the same number of servers, just for the sake of argument. Imagine the same number of servers. Imagine the same number of players per server, maybe a little bit more, but then just like spread out when they're spawning. Because then what that does is it makes it so that like you now have to essentially like survive through multiple places. But what it does is, I know it's like immersion breaking, but rather than just walk onto customs from Shoreline through an open doorway, it's like a kind of a cutscene kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would still be like a huge step towards a huge step towards making the open world thing matter, because now you have to bring enough food and resources. But you don't run into the issues of like, well, now you have this server that's been alive for 4 days.
Yeah.
Where are all these assets going to go? Where's all the stuff going to spawn? Well, no, it might just be an hour-long thing. You might just show up 20 minutes in, as opposed to, I don't know, I feel like that could be kind of cool.
That is interesting. Yeah, maybe when you got to the extraction, there was an animation and you like, and then it brought you to a screen where you got to select the next map, the next location you want to go to. If it's a map that's connected to multiple places, then you could do that. I mean, that's definitely the biggest question, right? Is exactly that. Like, where do the dead bodies go if the server's been alive for, 4 days? I mean, a factory, you can pile the scavs up to the ceiling in 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Let alone. So that would be really interesting. And then I feel like that's easier. It has to be easier, right, than developing the whole thing, the one giant Skyrim world.
It's the exact same thing as it is now, except imagine if the screen went black and they just had a built-in macro that went and click next, clicked on the thing. Like, I mean, that's all they need to do is essentially effectively do all the things you do to click on the map and choose next, ready. You're not healing, you're not repairing anything, you're not ensuring anything. You're just taking what you have on you and going into another map. It's no different, except now it's automated. The biggest challenge is going to be making it so that, like, so thinking about if you're going from customs to, like, Shoreline or whatever, there's one road where they connect. Yeah. So you can't have like everyone coming out from that one spawn. So, I mean, the idea could be that you're getting in a truck and Dimitri is driving you over to the location. Yeah. So then that could be a way that they're like, I'm picturing the fucking, they put the thing over your head and throw you in the back of the van, and it's all blacked out, and they're like, I will pay you, but you have, I will take you, but you must pay.
So funny.
I don't know.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that'd be dope. And in this situation, there's a lot of the things that are like the open world, right? Where, like, if you wanted to get to your like a trader or to a stash, you'd actually have to go to a location to do that. So that's why you would be going to these other maps. And then we've talked at length about why there needs to be a way to extract loot to keep me in that raid, to keep me doing that thing.
If they had a lot more maps, then it could work to where if there's 5 other maps connecting to, like, Streets of Tarkov, well, then that's maybe what you're doing is, like, entering the queue. They'd have to make it so that you're not taking, like, bleed damage, or whatever. But, like, you're entering the queue for that other map. So then, like, other people leaving the map in that places, they'll all spawn you around like a hub. There's a bunch of really cool things that they can do without making it so that it's one map and one world and one server. But yeah, I think that would be, I should talk to Nikita about that. I wonder if he's considered something like that. Yeah, because I'm sure as their, another note that he made during the podcast, it felt good to hear him say it, and it felt like a breath of fresh air for him, was he was like, he said something along the lines of, we're finally, like, developing the game again. He was like, we're not done with the war on cheaters or RMT, but whatever they're doing behind the scenes has given them some reprieve, and that they're, like, allocating more resources to developing the game. And he seemed excited about it. So if they're entering that new stage where they're like, okay, let's wrap this baby up. You know what I mean? We don't want to be developing Tarkov until literally 2028. Then maybe they're having those discussions right now. So yeah, maybe introducing that as an idea for a system might just be something they hadn't thought of, and it could be easier than what they were trying to do. This is the kind of idea that at a previous company I would get a fucking bonus for. Okay. Oh shit, you mean you can save us money and engineering time and do the thing that we wanted to do but we couldn't figure out how to do?
Wait a minute.
You're promoted.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
all right, well, I'm done.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm just like, boop. That's good. I'm excited. I'm excited for 12.7. Like we said, should be here in the next few days. And we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully
I want to play.
Yeah, hopefully I want to play. Hopefully things start moving in the right direction. 12.8, 12.9, streets, wipes, 0.13, 1.0, DLC, all the things. It's going to be great. Yeah,
he's saying it.
Just manifest it.
Honey, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
It's going to be
it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Like the fucking secret.
Exactly. Well, I think that's about it for us. Thank you all so much for hanging out. If you guys are unaware, this is a weekly show where we talk about Tarkov and a lot of other things, content creation, music, and stuff like that. But there's been a lot going on in the Tarkov land. So we wanted to plow through that. Super excited for 12.7. If it's your first time, we will be here next week, and you can also check it out on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that podcasts are shown. This is also the obligatory, if you could, like, subscribe. There'll be that we post the podcasts on my YouTube channel. And then down below, we have linked Veritas' stuff and all that stuff. And we'll probably be doing some shorter clips of it if you don't have 2 hours, because we love to ramble about all things, especially Escape from Tarkov. So
leave a comment about why you like Jesse so much and why Jesse is such a great asset to the Tarkov community. Comment that down below. We love you, Jesse. Smile.
Smile. But yeah, so like, subscribe, do all the things. Thank y'all so much for the support. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see y'all on the next one.
Peace.